Chael Sonnen, it is good to see you.
It's good to be seen.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm almost seeing Sasquatch here. You're like this mythical creature, Chael Sonnen, returning. It's almost fitting that you're back in the limelight. It's a UFC weekend, and you just received some good news because you are free to fight.
Yeah, that is correct.
The suspension has been lifted.
I had a suspension, I got another suspension, and all the suspensions, all the red tape is in the past. It's all behind me.
Does it feel as though a weight has been lifted off your shoulders here?
If you're a professional athlete, you don't have the right to complain about anything. You know, and I hear these guys come out and they're crying and they're whining and it's poor me. And I've always thought, what a wonderful world you must live in if that is a big deal. You know, with all the things that are going on and the adversity that a person has to face, and you've got to learn to deal with that stuff. And you know, just because you get a little negative press or you end up in a little red tape here or there, you got to know how to deal with that if you're going to get anything done in this world. I can't imagine. I mean, I watch just average folks have bigger problems with a day being a good husband or being a good father. Look, I'm a professional athlete. I'm not entitled to do that. I have an opportunity to do it. It's a luxury, and nobody owes that to me. And I've never felt like a victim in this whole thing. It was a nuisance, but that's where it ends.
You say it's a luxury, though, but was there a point where you thought you might never get a shot to fight again, another shot? Because it seemed as though for a while, one thing after the next was piling on you.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. You know, it's hard to completely remember all the different emotions that you go through, or, you know, you get a call one day that says one thing and it makes you think, well, it looks like it's the end of the line. And then understanding the rules is tough too. Somebody tells you you're suspended, you get information from one state, you trust that, and then you learn, oh, that's not exactly right, or maybe that was relayed to me wrong, maybe I interpreted it wrong. So the rules and the process constantly changes, and so does your mentality. Where, you know, so yeah, there was times where I thought, well, this might be the end of the road. It was up and down, and that was probably the hardest part, with the emotional, because it was highs and it was low, and it was so drastic. There was nothing ever steady about it. You know, it was either, oh man, I got some really good news today. Oh wow, did I get some bad news?
Your name has obviously been in the news this week because your suspension expired and you're free to fight. Also came in the news because people started to link your story to that of Nate Marquardt's because testosterone replacement therapy came up, and you were kind of the first fighter where this really came up and we started to learn more about it. What's your take, if you have any, on what happened to Nate Marquardt with him getting released and suspended and whatnot in Pennsylvania?
Well, you know, let me preface any statement I make with two things. First off, all I can really do is kind of guess, to say, well, this is what I think, because I don't actually know. And secondly, to say Nate is a very good guy. Behind everything you see, he's a good guy. He loves his family. He's good to his wife. If he tells you something, you can trust him. He's a good, nice, kind person. And all I know about it is what I saw on your show. And I think that Nate was very forthcoming and honest. I think it's important to understand Nate did not break any rules. He did not fight with an illegal substance or a banned substance of any kind. At the same time, I left that interview thinking, okay, Nate, I believe you. I believe everything you just said. I also think there's a couple of things you haven't said. I don't know that. But from my own opinion, from my office watching that on my laptop, I thought there was a couple of things that probably still haven't come out.
One last thing on this. Are fighters abusing TRT in your opinion? Are there people who are, because you've talked about it, that this is a medical condition, you need this. Are there people in your opinion in this sport, and in sports in general, who are abusing this and using this as a PED?
I I can tell you the frustration I had with mine is when you look at the rules and you say, okay, I'm a rule guy, I'm a rule follower, I'm going to follow this rule. Here's what I need to do if I'm going to be on this medication. So you come forward and you start the big fire. You wave the big flag, you show this is what I'm doing. Then they use that against you. That's where it becomes very frustrating. I think because of that, there's a lot of guys that are going, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm just not going to come forward like Chael did. I'm not going to do it correctly. I'm going to hide it because these guys at the commission are going to punish me. They're going to use it against me. And so I think I'll leave it at that, but I think that, if the commissions don't like the rule, then please, by all means, change the rule. But don't allow somebody to do something and then turn the gun on them and say, you did this and you shouldn't have. When I'm going, well, wait a minute, you said that I could. It's right there in your rules. So I think that makes it tough.
UFC 132 is this Saturday night. The co-main event features Chris Lieben versus Wanderlei Silva, both those fighters fighting your weight class, and of course you have had your issues with Wanderlei over the past year. Is that the fight, now that you're a free man, that you really have your eye on in terms of what's next for you?
For media attention, but not for reality. Wanderlei's never in a million years going to sign to fight me. I don't think he beats Chris Lieben tomorrow. Look, Wanderlei Silva has the worst record in the history of the UFC. Not just Zuffa owned. Take it back to the SCG days. There has never been a fighter to have 2 wins and 7 losses and to stay employed in this company. I believe he will be 2-8 tomorrow night. So I can't imagine how he could get on the docket with me. So no, I don't think Wanderlei's paths are going to cross.
We spoke to Wanderlei on Wednesday and we asked him about you, and he said that obviously not a big fan of yours. He said that he wants you next, and when you do meet, his quote was, he will kill you and he will kill you fast. I'm wondering if you saw that interview, and what do you think of him saying that?
Wanderlei, you are an immigrant from Brazil. I am a gangster from America. Are you sure you want to play that game with me? Listen, Wanderlei, I will do a home invasion on you. I will cut the power to your house, and the next thing you hear will be me climbing up your stairs in a pair of night vision goggles I bought in the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine. I'll pick the lock to the master room door, take a picture of you in bed with the Nogueira brothers working on your jiu-jitsu. I'll take said photograph, post it at www.dorksfrombrazil.com. Password, not required. Username, not required. That, Wanderlei, is how you threaten somebody, dummy. Here's what all that needs to be done with Wanderlei. It's as simple as this. Take a contract that says Wanderlei versus Chael Sonnen and have him sign that with your cameras rolling. He won't do it. Wouldn't fight Brian Stann, wouldn't fight Vitor Belfort, barely agreed to fight Chris Lieben, and he loves to talk tough, and I understand it, and we're in that business. But if we're being fair, take him a contract that puts him opposite of me, put a pen in his hand, roll the camera, and he will not sign it.
Why not?
Because he's scared and he sucks. This guy's delusional. This guy thinks his 22 wins in Japan were real. With a referee with an earpiece. Look, Wanderlei, you didn't win those fights in Japan. You had one fight in Japan, dummy. It was with Charles Crazy Horse Bennett and you got knocked out. But then again, when you got a guy so delusional that he really thinks he won those fights in Japan, nobody's like, let him in on the gag. Hey, Wanderlei, you didn't really win those. When you get a guy that delusional...
What do you mean by that? That he didn't win?
You know good and well what I mean by that. You know good and well, Arrow. You answer that question. Wanderlei's going to go 22 straight wins in Japan and he can't win 2 straight in America? Mirko Cro Cop's going to win all those fights in Japan. He can't beat anybody in America. Fedor's going to win all those fights in Japan and he's 3-2 in America. And one of those wins is over a guy that was flipping tires at Sam's Club the month before. Who's the latest guy? Yamamoto. Kid Yamamoto. 10 years they told us this is the greatest featherweight to ever live. He can't win a round in the UFC, let alone a fight. The only fighter to ever, from Japan, the only Japanese fighter to ever cut it in the US is Yushin Okami, and he's the only fighter to never go through the Japanese circuit. The Japanese circuit is fake. It's always been fake. None of those guys won those fights. They never won won those fights? Vanderlei Silva, 22-0. Mirko Cro Cop, one leg cemetery, one leg, whatever. Well, what happened, Mirko? What happened to your legs? Nothing happened. The referee's not wearing an earpiece. The promoter didn't come in the back and tell your opponent when to go down. That's what happened. I lost my motivation. No, you didn't. You suck. You suck just like Fedor sucks. You suck just like Vanderlei sucks. Big difference when that referee's real, isn't it, Arrow?